All right, guys, here we are again. Another Mat Chat with Coach Corey. And today we're actually talking about, so on our schedule, we have the grappling, the jiu-jitsu, but we're in a unique position in that Coach Corey is also a certified two-stripe black belt in a martial art called submission arts wrestling, or SAW for short. And so if you see that on the schedule and you go, well, what the heck is that? He's going to kind of talk about what that is, how you got into it as well, but what it is, what role it plays in your grappling.
Definitely. So yeah, guys, if you notice on our schedule, today's a week on Saturday and Sunday, our jiu-jitsu classes become SAW classes. Okay, and just like Coach Forrest said, SAW, submission arts wrestling. What is that? So SAW is a eclectic grappling martial art, actually from Japan, formed in the 80s by Sensei Haritaka Aso. Sensei Aso was a very well-known judo black belt and competitor in Japan. He was a very well-known Sambo competitor and champion. Sambo is a Russian martial art, submission fighting. And he also was in the very unique position to train with one of the greatest catch wrestlers of all time named Karl Gotch. He was actually a direct student of Karl Gotch. Now, if you're like, hey, what's catch wrestling? Who's Karl Gotch? Catch wrestling is essentially the original no-gi grappling. Before jiu-jitsu guys ever took off their gi and started grappling, the catch wrestlers, they were known by a bunch of different names. You might have heard of them as like carnival wrestlers or hookers. They would hook the limbs of their opponents. Essentially, it was wrestling with submissions, and very brutal submissions. Unlike jiu-jitsu, where things are very flowy and very, jiu-jitsu translates to the gentle art. SAW is all about like the ripping, the tearing, the brutal things. So we go into a lot of things that we don't cover in jiu-jitsu for quite a while. So we cover things like slicers, leg locks, face cranks, neck cranks, wrist locks. We cover a lot of brutal submissions that are just meant to brutalize, tear, rip.
Was Gene LaBelle, was he?
Gene LaBelle is also, he's a very famous catch wrestler. Judo black belt as well, but catch wrestler. I believe he trained, don't want to get wrong.
He was kind of like Bruce Lee's main plug in to the grappling world.
Yeah, I believe he trained under Billy Robinson. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. It could be Billy Robinson or it could be Karl Gotch. But Gene LaBelle was a catch wrestler. Actually, someone in the JKD world that we both very respect, Eric Paulson. Paulson was a catch wrestler, certified shooter from Japan. All these people kind of worked with the same people. So Karl Gotch worked, and Billy Robinson, they all worked with Haritaka Aso. Aso worked with another very famous figure in the Japanese mixed martial arts scene, Satoru Sayama, who he wrestled in Japan as Tiger Mask. He was actually created Shuto, which is like the first MMA organization in Japan. They all worked together, and the common link that they all knew was catch wrestling, right? So Sensei Aso, he took his training in catch wrestling, combined with his knowledge of judo and sambo, and created SAW. And mainly it's a no-gi system. We do throw on the jacket every once in a while because, of course, Sensei Aso was a sambo and judo guy. There's jacket work there. But also my coach, Mike Martel, is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. So through them, we added some gi work in. But mainly it's a no-gi system, and we focus on lock flows. Okay, so like in our jiu-jitsu class, we focus on some different techniques from different positions. The interesting about the lock flow is it's many submissions. So again, one jiu-jitsu class, we might focus on a sub, maybe one or two, maybe another thing. In these lock flows, we're going 5, 6, 7, 8 submissions, positional changes. The idea is I throw everything but the kitchen sink at my partner, at my opponent, and something's going to stick. So we go through these lock flows. I break them up into sections. We learn it, and by the end of class, all the students are doing these long lock flows, and they're actually very proficient in them. These lock flows, they can cover different things. We go over takedowns. We go over leg locks. We go over, face cranks. We cover all the things that the jiu-jitsu guys say you're not supposed to do. We do. Even at the early levels, white and yellow belt, I teach my students how to knee bar, how to leg lock, or how to heel hook, how to face crank. And the reason why is because that exists in catch wrestling even at the beginning. There is no limitations on what you learn. It's anything that can hurt someone, you can do.
So so I get the impression then that like when you look at somebody, are you just seeing like are you what's the,
I'm like
everything
I'm like
that's a
Arnold from the
hammer?
first Terminator. I'm like
Yeah.
scanning. I'm like, that's a sub, that's a sub, that's a sub, that's a sub, all over the place.
Because that's how it feels like when I've been in one of the classes and it's like, all right, you're in this position. First, you're going to break the finger, break the wrist, break the elbow, and it's like, so in other words, it's kind of like, can I at least pick how you're going to break me? I have 5 different things I could do to break you right now. You pick the one.
Yeah. So I mean, we love it. Our students even say like they love the fact that there's always another technique behind the next technique. It's like you open that door, there's another door. They really like that fact, and it just gives you a different idea on the grappling. Again, unlike the jiu-jitsu where it's like, hey, this is the gentle art. This is, we're gonna work on position. A very big famous saying is position before submission, and then catch it's grab whatever you can and tear it off.
That's the official. That's what it translates as.
The official Japanese translation. But the idea of like catch wrestling is all about the most effective brutal submissions, and that's the kind of fun flavor. Okay, you when you train SAW, you definitely feel a different flavor compared to the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And I like it. I got involved with it years ago. I met Mike through Mike Martell, my catch wrestling coach, my SAW coach. I met him through my jiu-jitsu professor, Professor Jay Pages, because I really wanted to train and learn about catch. We got hooked up, and years later now, I'm down in Texas, and I'm actually, don't quote me on it. I thought I was on the website, I saw it, but I think I'm the only second-degree black belt in SAW here in the Central Texas. We do have some other SAW people around us, but I think I'm the only second degree. And that's a very proud thing for me. Like I'm very proud that, I'm under such a legend like Mike in catch wrestling. Because Mike is not only the highest ranked SAW representative in North America, but he's actually a former SAW world champion. He went to Japan, fought in the SAW championships and won the heavyweight title years ago. So
that's crazy.
Yeah, I'm just I love the art. I love catch wrestling. I feel like it doesn't get enough love just because jiu-jitsu is the popular thing. Years ago it was karate in the 80s, and then or kung fu in the 70s, karate and ninjutsu in the 80s. So now everyone wants to train Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and it's great. I think jiu-jitsu is a great complement to SAW, but there's something really fun about these lock flows where you're just learning lock after lock after lock, and you almost have like backup plans for days. As far as attacks go. So it's just a different flavor, guys, but it's really fun. It's I always look forward to my weekend classes to teach all the cool lock flows.
I know you're a big ankle locker guy, and a lot of the competitions you've won, you've set records, speed records here in Texas on submissions, and a lot of them are ankle locks.
Yes.
Would you say that's SAW being used right now?
Yeah. I mean, leg locks are big in catch wrestling. We actually in the SAW curriculum, we have quite a few different leg lock flows. There's even a few that Mike has allowed me to write to be part of the curriculum, which is pretty cool. So I have a couple leg lock ones out there. But yeah, leg locks are huge in SAW in catch wrestling. It was, if you look at the history, like especially even if you go back to like 80s, the 1980s in Japan, when you watched, you can either watch early MMA, early Japanese MMA, or what they call shoot style wrestling, which was like, it's kind of interesting. It was like pro wrestling was predetermined, but they were throwing real tie kicks and real palm strikes, and they were actually grappling for real. It just had a preset winner. Okay, so this fighter's going to win, but you guys go out there, essentially have a freestyle sparring match, make it look good and have fun. Those guys, those catch wrestlers, if you notice, they were all leg locking. Even probably one of the most famous Americans in catch, which I know you'll notice the name, Ken Shamrock.
Oh yeah.
He trained in Japan. He was a Japanese catch trained guy, and that's why like his thing not only in MMA but when he came to the WWF in America, his whole thing was leg locks. It was because that's what they were doing back then. Like if you would do that in Brazil, you'd get booed. You might get attacked actually for doing a leg lock at a tournament back in the day. Like that was considered dirty, but the Japanese considered it effective.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a lot of SAW. Like all the matches I won with heel hooks and ankle locks. It's my SAW training.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, I think that's a pretty solid Yeah, a little background on submission arts wrestling.
Every Saturday, guys, at 10:45, and every Sunday at 10. We do SAW, and we have a great group. We have quite a few yellow belts here, and we actually have quite a few women in our SAW class. So come on through, y'all. It's a great time.
Actually, that makes me think of a couple of questions.
Yeah.
One, do you mind talking about the rank? Because
Absolutely, absolutely.
You know, the yellow belt's not. You know, when people see jiu-jitsu, there's no yellow belts. So I'm curious to like, you showed me how the rank works, but you know, maybe.
Sure. So, you know, in SAW, there's some introductory ranks that we go through first that are more, I guess, the traditional OB system. You know, OB system is the belt system. It was made in Japan. I can't remember if it was the founder of Shotokan Karate or if it was the founder of Judo, or if it was both of them. I know they were friends and they trained together. But they wanted to create the OB system around belts, how to not only rank people, but to guide them in their training, see where they were at. And in SAW, we use, at first, white, yellow, orange, green. So we use those colors. So we actually have a healthy group of yellow belts here, which they're going to be orange belts soon. And after that, it gets into more of the jiu-jitsu rankings. SAW likes to not mimic, but likes to use that just because the jiu-jitsu rankings, blue 4-stripe, purple 4-stripe, brown 4-stripe, it's so like well recognized and respected that Sensei S.A.W. is like, well, hey, let's have these early ranks to get people familiar with SAW, and then once they get into their blue, purple, and brown rankings, now they're getting ready for more advanced techniques, they're getting ready for their black belt. But yeah, it starts off more traditional, you know, traditional OB down system where it's white, yellow, orange, green, and then we use the similar jiu-jitsu rankings just for kind of uniformity.
Would that make it easier too for like competition, like by having, because I would imagine
a lot of tournaments you go by ranking, white, blue, purple, brown. So, you know, let's say you're a SAW guy and you've got, or a gal, and you've gotten past your initial rankings. Well, now you're like, hey, I can go enter a blue belt division. I can go enter purple, and then you'll know where you are in terms of your skill level.
Got it.
Yeah.
And then the last question that I wanted to ask about SAW. Crap. Oh yeah, no, it's actually not a question. It's something you told me. You mentioned is that from what we can tell, you know, I mean, we haven't scoured every single website and looked, but it looks like we might actually have the most complete. Not only are you the highest ranked SAW instructor here, but also that we might have the most complete program as far as twice a week.
Yeah. As far as I know, you know, there's other places with some programs, but again, this art I love so much, and it means so much to me that I try to put it on as much as possible. So we do have it that 2 times a week, and there's even some, you know, talk among the students like maybe we can do like a month of SAW, like totally possible on the thing. But the great thing is having that class 2 times a week.
September.
Ooh. I like that too much.
Or Saugust.
That might have to happen too. You're giving me good ideas.
Dad jokes coming.
No, they're all good dad jokes and they're good ideas. So that's on the horizon. But yeah, we have it twice a week, and it's great because like let's say you're training maybe in other classes here. Let's say maybe you can make 1 jiu-jitsu class a week, or maybe you're making your striking classes, but you're like, man, I really want to train SAW. If you come Saturday and Sunday back to back, and you're drilling the same flow, you are going to be proficient. You will be very proficient, and you'll be able to rise up the ranks relatively easy and gain a lot of skill.
That's cool.
Yeah.